Hey, what's going on, my fellow hustlers? We're back with another episode 32, and we have an awesome guest today. He's a father, he's a husband, and the owner of a Better Inspection LLC here in Amarillo, Texas. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Micheal Morton.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. How's your day going so far?
So far, so good.
Yeah?
Had an off day of inspections, and by off day, I mean today was admin day.
Admin day. That's your days off, huh?
Yes. Anything I can't get done during the week is on my admin day. Like today was getting tires replaced.
Oh, wow.
I have an inspection tomorrow in Childress. I don't want to be all the way down there. In
That's a little far, too. What is it, like 2 hours?
2 hours, almost
2
exactly.
hours. That's crazy. That's what I was going to ask you. What, you service the whole panhandle or?
Yes, sir. So our service area for home inspections is a 3-hour circle around Amarillo.
Okay.
So we do everything. I've been as far east as Vernon, Texas, as far north as Liberal, Kansas,
Okay.
as far west as Albuquerque, New Mexico, and as far south as Lubbock.
I love it.
I've gone as far down as Interstate 20 south of Lubbock, but I can't remember the town, and it was just a farm
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
out in the middle of nowhere.
It seems
So-
like I keep up with you on Facebook, and it seems like you're all over the place sometimes.
Yes. So a lot of that is when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
I was a FedEx driver up in Colorado.
Yeah.
And I would have to drive 3 hours from my depot just to get to my first stop. And my delivery route was from downtown Denver all the way to the mountains along Highway 6 there in Denver.
Yeah.
And I mean, it would take 8 hours to deliver packages and stuff, and then I'd have the 3-hour drive back home because I'd hit rush hour going to going to the delivery and then going home.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for $130 a day.
Wow, that's crazy. I bet that's a big change.
Right, and so now like I'm willing to do a home inspection because my minimum home inspection fee is $300.
Yeah.
And it's like
easier.
It's easier.
Yeah.
Triple the amount.
You mentioned Denver. Let's go back to that. Let's talk a little bit about you. Where did you grow up? Or where are you from?
Yeah, so I grew up in Colorado.
Okay.
Other than 4 years in Bible college out in California and then 1 year in Pennsylvania, I've spent the majority of my life in Colorado.
What part?
So I lived in a small town called Lyons. Everyone knows Boulder, Colorado. That's
Boulder,
where
Colorado.
CU is.
Yep.
That's where Coach Prime is.
They're on fire right now.
Yeah. I haven't had anything to cheer about for 20 years, but now I have something to cheer about again.
I'm a fan.
But then the other town is Estes Park, and that's where Rocky Mountain National Park is.
Okay.
And Lyons was just a small town in between those two towns.
Yeah. It's a smaller town?
When I was growing up, it was like 2,000 to 3,000,
Yeah.
and now I think they're up around 7,000 to 8,000.
Oh, wow. So it's a little smaller town. How was that growing up for you in a small town like that?
So I loved it. It was the kind of town that you could ride on your bike anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like the kids in the Sandlot. That's kind of how I grew up. Like we would all go to the park on our bikes.
Yeah, you could walk around, sneak out at night.
I wasn't a sneak outer. I was in bed by 8 kind of kid.
Yeah.
But it was one of those old fashioned towns. It had a candy store there on Main Street. My parents owned a old fashioned soda fountain.
Okay.
From the 1920s off and on throughout my childhood. It has a supermarket that, back in the day it carried, just the basics. But now since Colorado's, into the healthy scene and stuff like that, it's all health food and stuff like that. But
that's pretty cool, man. Those small towns are different. I grew up, it was 1,200 people in my town.
What town?
Wheeler.
Yep.
And then you could do everything, really. Go walk around. You don't have no worries about theft or anything like that. Bigger cities are obviously a little more different, What did you want to be when you were little?
So when I was little, I wanted to be a lot of things.
Yeah, obviously.
My mom always said that I would be a song director in like a church or something like that, because anytime we sing in church, I'd turn around and start directing the congregation, stuff like that. As I got older, I wanted to be a youth pastor
Oh, wow.
and stuff like that. And there was even a time when I wanted to get into construction, but my parents, they were, I don't know if they frowned upon blue collar work, but
Yeah.
they wanted me to get a college
College
degree
degree and all that stuff.
and all that stuff. So they kind of just steered me away from that.
Yeah.
But I keep finding my way back in.
Back to it, huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And that takes me to the next question. Like, how did you get started in the home inspection industry?
So, in the home inspection industry specifically, when we moved down here during 2020 due to COVID and some family events going on
Yeah.
in my house, we just had said this is a chance for a complete reset. We
Yeah.
reset our location, we reset our vocations, and my wife said, "Go for it."
Go for it.
So we, took some of the proceedings from our house, put me in home inspection school, and it's been the best $3,000 I've ever invested.
Oh yeah.
That 3,000 has turned into over $850,000 in sales.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
yes,
That's
sir.
it's a good industry from what I know. I know a couple of inspectors, and most of them love it. They do that full time, and they're all about it. What training and certificates do you have to? Are you required to get to become an inspector?
Okay, so my first exposure to the construction industry was 10 years ago. Up in Colorado, I did mountain home construction in Estes Park.
Oh wow.
And up there, when you're in the mountains, homes obviously are built completely different
Yeah.
than they are down here.
Yeah, for sure.
Like here, we have wind loads. We have very minimal snow loads, but up there, I mean, you're preparing for 4-foot snows, 70, 80 mile an hour winds.
Yeah.
So that was my first exposure.
Okay.
When I became licensed, Texas required home inspectors to have 330 hours of education
Wow.
and then 50 hours of supervised inspections. They have since lowered those qualifications to where I think you only have to do 192 hours total.
Okay.
And I think that breakdown is like 162 hours. Sorry. 162 hours, of education,
Yeah.
and then another 10 or so hours of those supervised inspections.
Wow. And is that something you have to keep doing like every year or every 3 years, or how does that work?
Yes. So here in Texas, we have to submit 32 credit or continuing education units every 2 years upon renewal.
Yeah.
And 8 of those hours has to be in ethics and understanding the Texas standard of practice.
Yeah.
We do way beyond that because we're always trying to, stay in front of the market,
Sure.
be knowledgeable about the upcoming trends in the industry. And like I was telling a realtor earlier this year, I'd spend 32 hours a year just learning how to do sewer inspections.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's a definite make or break when it comes to home inspections, and there's a lot of home inspectors that don't do them right or don't report what they see correctly.
Yeah. That's pretty. I've seen a couple of your videos, and you're running the camera through the sewer line and all that stuff. That's pretty cool. What is the most challenging part of doing all this? What do you think is the most challenging part for you?
So for me, being a Colorado guy,
Yeah.
Colorado boy, I cannot handle the heat during the
heat.
summer.
Yeah.
My very first summer of home inspections, I had a client that just, wanted to make sure I got every square inch of that attic.
Yeah.
And it was, late August, so 108, I think it was. I was in that attic for like 50 minutes. I stopped
dang.
sweating. And then the guy wanted to have a conversation up there. I'm like, sir, can we please get out of the attic?
You're like, I'm a Colorado boy. We gotta talk outside. No, that's cool. Yeah. Is there a lot of picky homeowners that are just watching you and?
I would say probably only 10% of my home inspections is the homeowner actually present.
Okay.
And I can always tell within the first 5 minutes if there's going to be a problem because when I first get there, I go into the home, turn on all the lights,
Yeah.
turn on the oven, turn on the dishwasher,
Oh, cool.
because that's all stuff. I mean, the oven and dishwasher, it takes time to go through the process and all that. but also I turn on all the lights on so I can see if like there's stains on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Because then I know where to look on the roof for.
So even the appliances, you look at all the appliances, all that stuff too.
Yes. So Texas, we are required to look at the dishwasher, food disposer,
Oh wow.
hood vent, oven/stove, the bathroom fans, dryer vent, and the garage door. That's
Oh, wow.
considered appliances. Since in a lot of real estate transactions, refrigerators aren't included.
Yeah.
We don't have to inspect those. But like I said, I inspected in Oklahoma, and up there, refrigerators, washers, and dryers are all included. So, I get to run those. In fact, a couple of weeks ago when we had that big rain, my jacket was soaked, and I was just like, well, guess I got to test the dryer, and I threw my jacket in the dryer,
there you go. Yeah.
got it all dry before my next inspection.
Made the best out of it, huh?
Yes, sir.
That's cool. So in Oklahoma and Texas, I think you said Kansas, is there different licenses you're required to have, or is it all just fall under one?
So every state has its own regulations. The states closest to us, Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico all require a home inspector's license, and I have a license in each of those states.
Oh, nice.
Colorado and Kansas are unregulated states, so I could go up there and do an inspection any time.
Yeah.
It's just, are the people up there willing to pay for my time?
The travel.
But I don't pay, or I don't ask my clients to pay for travel charges. I view that is part of the job, is getting myself to the job. So, my inspection fees are the same here as they are, in Guyman.
That's interesting. Yeah, because most people charge that trip fee, $100, $150. It's crazy.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. I take full advantage of it on my taxes.
Yeah.
Especially because I put 30 to 50,000 miles a year on my car.
Wow, that's how I am. I think I did 33,000 last year. I was like, man, it takes a toll.
Yeah, I keep trying to bring it back down to just Amarillo, Canyon, Bushland, maybe Hereford, Pampa. But I actually enjoy going out into those out there cities. You mentioned Wheeler. Yeah. I forget the gas station, but there's a gas station there where all the farmers get together and have
cross country barn.
Yes. Yeah. And I love going there and just talking to the guys.
They're nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice little town.
And same thing with what's the baseball town up there?
Clarendon?
No.
Town. So there's Wheeler, Shamrock, Canadian, Mobidi.
East of Canadian.
East of Canadian.
South Guyman.
Sayre? No, not Sayre. I don't know. And it's in Oklahoma?
No, it's in Texas.
Baseball town. Nah, I'm going to be thinking about it.
Well, anyways, that's another town that I love talking to the people because, they're kind of isolated from everything, so they have their own little thing going on. Yeah,
all these little towns, anytime I go there, everybody's nice. They're welcoming and things like that. What is one of the most common issues you find during like these inspections? Is there one thing that happens most of the time that you find?
So I don't do this on every home, but I will say the majority of homes I do is sewer scope. There is at least some sort of issue with the sewer, whether it's a collapsed line, root intrusion in the line, or even bellies in the line. There's always something. I would say the other big thing that I see in our area is just settlement, and that is due to our clay soils. When the clay gets wet, it expands. When it dries out, it shrinks. And like the home I currently live in, I didn't know when I bought it, but you
didn't do your inspection.
Well, I got an inspection, but
it wasn't you.
It wasn't me. Yeah. But no one told me it was built in the middle of a playa lake.
Wow, over there by Coulter Hillside, that area.
No, I'm over off of Washington Hillside.
Okay.
But just since we've lived there, I noticed I have new cracks that weren't there when we bought the house. Yeah. And I'm trying to be a good Texas panhandle liver. I water my foundation. I do all that. Yeah. But I think we've just had such extremes over the past few years that the foundation's having a real tough time. Yeah. A couple years ago we had that extreme wet where I think May we got 8 inches of rain or something like that.
Mm-hmm. When those floods happened?
Yeah, when all those floods happened. But then we didn't get any rain again until like December.
Yeah.
and the house going from one extreme to the other
It doesn't help it.
resulted in significant issues.
Yeah.
So
That's good. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people complain and talk about the builders nowadays. What's your thoughts on that? Are they getting worse, or what's your thoughts on that?
so builders, of course, have to be in business to make a profit.
Yeah.
And I don't fault that for I don't fault them for that.
Yeah.
However, some of the builders in this town, how they get their profit is they take shortcuts on at the expense of the buyer.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is anytime you're building a home, of course, get an inspection, but also have a inspection done by an inspector that knows the Texas standards for new constructions. That way, the builder is at least held to some sort of standard.
Yeah.
Texas has probably the kindest regulations towards builders.
Yeah.
I follow a guy on Facebook called Cy Porter over in Arizona, and they actually have multiple layers to ensure that the builders are
Wow.
concerned about their clients.
Yeah.
And that Cy Porter, he's had homes there in Arizona completely rebuilt from the studs up. That's how bad they were.
Oh wow.
I haven't had any luck like that. I've had a few driveways replaced over in Hillside
area.
Terrace, or not Hillside Terrace, Heritage Hills.
Yeah.
I've had some framing redone in some homes and stuff like that, but those are nonetheless large expenses
Yeah. Yeah.
at a small inspection fee.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. So your job is, because I hear homeowners say this all the time. I was like, they ask me, hey, I did that inspection and it passed. You don't get to pass it, right? You just do your inspection. You show them what you find. There's no failing or passing. You're just there to
Right.
let them know what's going on with the property.
Right, a city inspector is a pass or fail scenario, and of course it has to pass in order for the homeowner to get a CO or a certificate of occupancy. Home inspector's inspection is just to let you know the state of the home.
Yeah.
I haven't got copyrights on it, but what I tell people is I tell you the state of the address. And so, some inspectors let you know everything about the home. I figure if people are buying that home, they see the good in it. So my job is to tell them the bad.
For sure. Yeah. And you said your fees. I mean, they're anywhere from 300 to up from there. That's really not that bad. I thought it was going to be more.
Yes. I always thought I was on the high side of medium when it came to pricing. But during that crazy inflation we had in 22, I quickly went from the high middle to, I wouldn't even say bottom middle. I'm probably some of the lower inspection fees in the area.
Wow.
And of course, now with experience with some other certifications, like I'm a certified master inspector now, that we also offer warranty with all of our inspections. Prices will be increasing.
Yeah.
I try to only do that once a year. Even during that year of crazy inflation, I only raised my fees once.
Yeah.
Just so realtors know what to expect, clients know what to expect, and it gives me a chance to do a reset at the Christmas New Year break.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you? What about like building codes? How do you stay up to date with all that building codes and like the industry standards that you need to have?
So I sleep on all the code books and try to learn by osmosis. Now, I wish it was that easy. My spare reading is the code books. And unfortunately, even with me doing that on a yearly, nightly basis, I can't keep up with everything. In fact, at this point, even though I'm only 3.5 years in, I've probably forgotten more stuff than I'm retaining.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information. Like, so you're asking about builders. If you pay, I think a general contractor fee here in Texas is $495. You could become a home builder here in Texas.
Because it's not a licensed state, so you can just...
Right. They don't require any education.
Yeah.
Or anything, but
it's like the roofing industry.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why there's so many roofers.
So with that, I mean, we have to have 8 hours minimum in each of the major systems of the home. So structural, plumbing,
Yeah.
electrical, HVAC, and all that. And that's why, sometimes home buyers get frustrated when we're referring stuff out to a industry professional.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, we can't remember everything, and there could be something that we comment on, and you know, we there's like a loophole, not a loophole, but like in a specific scenario, the code says it could be a way,
Yeah.
but we aren't told each of those fine,
The fine print.
the fine print.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. And then like your business and stuff, how do you get that business? Do you do a lot of marketing, social media, referrals? What's the
So
biggest
my
for
first
you?
3 years, I 40% of my budget was look at me, look at me.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I was spending that on Google ads, Facebook ads, um, you know, BNI chapter fees. But I've noticed a shift over the course of the last year that a lot of my business is referral from
referrals.
doing great work for another client.
Yeah,
In fact, over the last month, almost every single call I've received is, "Hey, my friend, you did this house
mm-hmm.
on this address. They said you did this good job.
Yeah,
We want the same thing."
yeah,
And I'm lucky to be in that state. I credit that to, first of all, I'm a Christian, so do everything heartily unto the Lord and not unto man.
yeah.
And then I also worked at Chick-fil-A when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to
I
do with
love
my life.
Chick-fil-A.
It's good,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you've seen all the stuff going on in politics, but that Robert Kennedy Jr.,
Kennedy, yeah.
what he wants to...
Is that me or you?
That's me. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. Two phones.
Yeah, that's the bad side of my business. What he wants to do is, get all the unnecessary chemicals out of
Yes,
food.
I read that.
And, Chick-fil-A has some of those unnecessary
does.
chemicals. We got off the subject, but
I like talking about that.
Chick-fil-A, the big thing with them is second mile service.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to offer second mile service in a service industry
Yeah.
where people weren't getting that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, yeah, definitely referrals are a big thing. I know for me in the roofing industry, that's what I live off of,
Mhm.
and it keeps you motivated to want to do good, to want to do the right thing for your homeowners, and go that extra mile.
Mhm.
I love referrals. That's the best phone call you get. Hey, this person referred me to you. Can you come help me?
Right.
I'm right there.
Right. In my BNI group, for instance, I shared an example that, a customer or client's referral is excellent.
Yes.
A testimony is excellent. But I think something that also speaks louder than words is when realtors are using you on their personal/investment properties.
Yeah.
And I've done about 20 homes this year for realtors, whether it's their personal home or their
Wow.
investment properties.
That's good. Have a good connection out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of realtors here in town. And you can tell. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
right. Every time I think I'm like working with the top realtors in the area,
More.
there's new ones. I mean, so
I wonder how many there is just in Amarillo. Is there like an actual number?
So the Amarillo Association of Realtors website, last time I looked, had 1,201
Wow.
people in their address book, but that also includes affiliates, so like other home inspectors, pest inspectors, appraisers, and stuff like that. But I know personally, I've worked with over 600 agents here in the Amarillo market.
That's crazy.
And, one nice thing about that is, I built the base wide,
Mm-hmm.
but, because of that, I don't always have the heavy hitters, the realtors that are selling 10 plus homes a year.
Yeah.
I would say the majority of the realtors that use me probably sell four homes or less per year.
Yeah. That's cool.
So
It's a good, like I said, good connection to have. What motivates you? Like starting your own business. What made you say, "Hey, I'm just gonna go for it and do it"? Why didn't you find a job somewhere else, or what made you just want to start your own business? Because it's hard, right? It's scary. You don't have a secure income coming in. Like you have to take that leap and have faith, in everything
Right.
you do.
So I would say the big wake up call was COVID.
COVID.
Um, Obviously, here in Texas, I wasn't here, but it sounds like it was different than Colorado.
Yeah.
But in Colorado, my wife and I both worked at Chick-fil-A.
Hmm.
And if it wasn't for the governor of Colorado saying that we were, I can't think of the word, but a necessary function to society,
Yeah.
we would have been jobless for like 2 months, not getting paid or anything like that.
Wow.
And it was at that moment I realized, even though I'm with this successful company, I am a government's decision away from not having anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also listened to the Dave Ramsey show a lot, and he's like, at the end of the day, you have to be willing to go out, slay the animal, drag it home.
Do you agree with a lot of stuff he talks about? Most of it?
I do.
Yeah.
I, especially with credit cards,
That's going to take me to my next topic. Yeah.
there are some people that can handle credit cards.
Yeah.
I know myself, I can't.
Yeah.
I tell people I'm really good at steps 1, 2,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 of the Dave Ramsey plan
Yeah.
because I've done it 3 times.
Oh, really?
And I'm starting a 4th time because
Wow.
just, with the inflation this last year,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even mean to allow my credit card balances to go up, but there were just some months where you could only make the minimum, and then
Yeah.
you add on top of that. So
That's crazy.
whenever I get it paid off this time, I'm giving them the final clip and never going back.
Yeah. I think credit cards are is like a sharp knife. You give it to a kid that doesn't know what they're doing, it's gonna go bad.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give it to a chef, to someone that knows what they're doing, they're gonna create something great. With that money
Right.
that's
mean,
available to them.
So I let you know my personal experience.
Yeah.
When I started my business, I was planning on starting my business January of 2021.
Okay.
Except I had one class left to take that kept getting canceled due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even get to do my first inspection when I started till May.
Wow.
So that entire time we were just living on credit cards and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I mentioned the $3,000 I initially spent on my classes.
Yeah.
I view that 5 months of living on credit cards as also part of that investment.
Yeah.
So I could focus 100% on that job. I mean, even though I had that delay, I was able to accrue an extra 700 hours of continuing education just waiting.
It's an investment.
So, yeah, it makes the numbers not as pretty, but let's just say 30,000. Turning 30,000 into 850,000 over the last 3.5 years.
That's awesome.
Yes,
How
sir.
do you feel about Bitcoin? You a Bitcoin guy or no?
I think it's a great investment.
Yeah.
And I wish I could.
Bought some?
I wish I bought some.
Did you see what it's at right now?
I saw this morning, at least the article I read this morning is up over 95.
97.
97. I wanted to buy some back when it got down around 40.
Yes.
And, I saw today Trump wants to install a crypto czar and start regulating the industry. And that will just make it more legit of an investment.
Yep.
I have multiple friends that could see it going up over 200,000 in the next 4 years under Trump.
Wow.
And it's just like,
Should we start buying some?
I'm not an investment expert, but I
had some. I had some. Last year I think.
Okay.
And they went up a little bit. I was like, I'm just gonna take my money out. And then I saw it go up to 97. I was like, dang, I should have left it.
So
it's crazy.
My wife's sister got us on a crypto called Safe Moon, and it was supposed to be like, you have Bitcoin, you got Ethereum. It was supposed to be the bridge between the two.
Okay.
Great promises and all that. Well, then they started having a bunch of scandals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there was one point where I was like, well, I know we invested $2,250 in it, and it's only $1,700 now, but let's get it out. Well, we didn't, and now I think I saw it was down around $130.
Wow, man.
So
you never know.
Right, but when it comes to investment, the biggest thing to remember is to not have all your eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you spread out, no matter what the investment is, the more likely chance you have for growth and loss.
Yeah.
But hopefully your growth is more than loss.
The loss, sure.
Back in Trump's last year, 2020, I read an article, and if you just invested $10 on a weekly basis in the top 10 cryptos
Uh-huh.
consistently, you would have had a 79% growth,
Yeah.
even with them going up and down. So, the Bible says it, common sense says it,
Mm-hmm.
spread out your eggs, and
It'll grow.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I believe in that too. I love investments. I don't have a lot of money in it, but I like to play with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting when you see it go up, and then when it
Right.
goes down, you're like, shoot, what am I doing?
I was invested in a mutual fund,
Mhm.
more or less, for cryptos.
Yeah.
So they invested in like the top 5 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And during the first years of Biden, I think I was down like 83%. And I just looked the other day to see, and I would have, if I held my position,
Yeah.
The saying is time in the market, not timing the market.
Yeah, yeah,
But I didn't know. I have so many books on my mind as far as what I should do. And I forget which book it is. I think it was The Richest Man of Babylon. But you have to be willing to invest in something you're comfortable with
Sure.
and you're knowledgeable in. And that's when I decided to slim down my investments into what I know, what I'm comfortable with, what I'm familiar with. And, I still have some losses, but I feel better about myself.
That's true.
But so like looking into the future, more than likely Social Security will not be there for you and me.
Yep, that's what I was.
Medicare, Medicaid won't be there for you and I.
Yep.
So what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I even asked this question during that high inflation. What am I going to do if milk gets up to $100 a gallon?
Yep.
And to borrow from another idea, KonMari, it's a type of cleaning, and you basically go to items in your home and ask, does it bring me joy?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I approach my investments, is like, what brings me joy? Well, the stock market doesn't.
Yeah.
Being in the inspection business, real estate doesn't.
Yeah.
I've seen the investor homes. They're disgusting.
They are.
But building businesses is something I enjoy, and that's what I'm staking my retirement on, is building this business and hopefully other businesses in the future.
That takes me to my next question. What's the future looking like? Where do you see your company in 5 years from now?
So I'm hoping in 5 years from now to have 3 Tesla robots doing the inspections for me, feeding them AI so they can do all the hard work.
That's funny.
But over the next 5 years, here's what I see in our area. So with the rise of franchise inspectors coming to our area, what follows behind is franchise builders. So think D.R. Horton, Lennar Homes. Some people would consider Beat and Bow one of them. Those builders will eventually make their way to Amarillo.
Yeah.
And someone has to be a voice for the client, a voice for quality.
Yeah.
And my desire is to, on the home side, get specifically just on the new construction side. I'll do older homes for realtors that, gave me the shot early on.
Yeah.
But my desire is to be 100% new home construction in the next 5 years.
Next 5 years.
And then something else I'm also building out is the commercial side.
So I was going to ask you, you do the inspections too, right?
Yes, sir. So what's happening there is the engineers were the ones that used to do the commercial inspections.
Yeah.
Due to the lack of people coming up behind them, they no longer want to do them. So they handed them to the home inspection industry.
Oh, wow. More work?
More work, profitable work.
Oh, yeah.
And definitely very wide experiences. So back last month, I was able to inspect a 17,000 square foot pet resort.
I saw that. New Mexico?
Yeah, Rio Rancho,
Yeah.
north side of Albuquerque. But
a pet resort?
A pet resort.
Yeah.
They had pools. They had more or less a gym for the dogs with treadmills and stuff like that.
Wow.
They had the outdoor park with a bunch of fire hydrants so they could go to the bathroom and all that.
How do you get that phone call?
Um,
That's my question.
Google.
Google
Mhm.
ads.
No, I built up my Google presence out there in Albuquerque.
Okay.
So when it comes to commercial advertisement, I'm just advertising in the big cities. So Amarillo, Lubbock, Wichita Falls,
Okay.
Oklahoma City, Dallas, El Paso, Albuquerque,
Man, you're all over the
Denver.
place.
And I found I get the stuff in between those big cities
Yeah.
doing that.
That's smart. That's smart. Good. That's a good marketing technique right there. I was gonna ask you. We talked about books and stuff earlier. What do you read? What do you listen to? Podcast. What's your favorite podcast to listen to?
So since I do a bunch of driving, I constantly am listening to something.
Yeah.
Last year I listened to 46 books.
Wow.
And it's like, well, at least I did something profitable with that time instead of just staring at the flat openness of the Texas Panhandle. But I have been thoroughly enjoying the Joe Rogan show.
Man, I love that show.
I mean, he talks about a wide range of stuff. Like,
crazy.
in fact, I was hoping you'd ask me about aliens.
He's like, I love watching because like you say, he talks about everything, and it's interesting stuff. And the people he has on there, it could be a comedian, a scientist, Elon, like it's crazy.
Right. I love that.
Trump.
Yeah. I enjoyed the Elon Musk interviews.
Yep.
I forget the guy's name, but they talk about the ancient megalithic structures and, how were they built, who built them. And, my personal opinion is the fallen angels. Fallen angels built them.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting to hear different people's perspectives. With the election in the past few weeks, a lot of it was trying to figure out who's telling the truth. So I was listening to people on both sides of the aisle and figured the truth has to be somewhere here in the middle.
Yeah. That you think that helped Trump win the election? Joe Rogan.
I think that's going to completely change media in general.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see maybe not the fall of the 24-hour news cycle, news channels, but anything of importance is going to go to this podcast
platform. I think so too. And I feel like they should be able to get on there and talk for 2 to 3 hours, get to know that person, because you see these interviews in the news, it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Right.
You don't get to know that person.
Right.
I feel like these long-term interviews,
and when
you get to know that person better.
One nice thing about Joe Rogan is he doesn't edit.
Yep.
I mean, every so often he has to edit out like a bad word or something that was copyrighted. But what you see is what you get.
Exactly.
And he also says after 2 to 3 hours, you get the real person.
Yeah, you see what comes out for sure. No, I totally like that. I love that show. I wish what's her name, damn, I went blank. The female president, Harris.
Yes.
I wish she would have went on there. Just to actually listen and see what she's about. But she didn't want to.
Right. I think Joe Rogan would have been just as fair to her as he would have been towards Trump.
That's the good thing about him. Like, he's fair to people. He wants to know the truth and wants to know you for who you are.
Right.
That's an awesome. I had another question though. What's your motivation? What motivates you to keep going with your business? And because you get those rough days, right? That you wake up sometimes, you're like, man, hey, it's my own business. I'm not gonna go to work, but you have to, right? Because you got to provide for your family and all those things.
So I'm probably going to butcher the statement, but they say if you do a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I would say for the most part, every day I do home inspections, I love it because I'm outside, I'm inside, I get change of scenery, change of location, I get to talk to people, I get to show my knowledge in the industry. But there are days where it's a drudge, like, probably besides Amarillo, one of the main areas I've been this year is Guyman. And the first few times I went to Guyman, it was great. But now that I'm coming to the end of the year and have done like 30 or so inspections up there. I'm like, oh,
I saw you post a picture. Like, yeah, I think there was hail in Guyman.
yes.
I was like, I need to get over there. It's far though for me.
Yeah,
Especially
it's far.
when you work with like the insurance claims with homeowners.
Right.
And it takes forever. What is it, like 2.5 hours?
2 hours on the dot, depending on
Yeah.
where you have to be in
Man, it's
Guyman. That home inspection you saw, I had to get the keys from a realtor's office on the north side of town, and that home was on the other side of town. So I mean, it took like 2.5 hours by the time I got to the actual house.
Yeah, that's crazy. How's your support system? Do you have a good support system, and what does that mean to you?
So my closest support system is my church family.
Okay.
And I depend on them greatly. When I didn't have that in 2020, I didn't realize how vital of a part church was.
Yeah.
But not having that fellowship during 2020, my family going through hell during 2020, and not having anyone to talk to, not anyone to spill my burdens on and stuff like that. It was very difficult. So my church and family is my most closest support system. Outside of there, I would say close family and friends. My family were pretty far spread out. My mom and brother are back in Colorado. My sister's over in Tulsa. My wife's family's here in town, but it's that, I don't know if it's a sign of the end of the world, but we're all busy doing our own things, stuff like that. So we don't always get together. Yeah. But even this year, I felt the need of going to professional counseling. Yeah. Because, the church was doing their job, my family and friends were doing their job, but I needed something a little bit extra.
Yeah, that's important to talk about because I saw a post the other day. Men, we feel like we have to be tough, right? But I mean, we're humans. We still need that mental help that anybody needs, right? But a lot of people feel like, hey, well, y'all are man, you're supposed to be tough. But I feel like you can be open about it, right? Just like you're being right now. That's awesome.
Right.
It's okay to ask for help. You know what I'm saying?
My wife, I love her to death, but she was the one pressing me to get counseling. Yeah. She's like, I have no doubt that you're tough. Yeah. I have no doubt that you could carry this burden for you the rest of your life. Yeah. But it's okay to get help.
Exactly.
Jesus, he was able to go to his Father, which is the greatest help. And I think everyone of faith, and even if you're not of faith, should go to the Heavenly Father for help. For sure. But then also, you're talking about, men, we've just been taught not to show emotion.
Be quiet,
Jesus wept when his best friend Lazarus died. He wept when he saw the people's unbelief. Jesus had emotions, and like I don't want to put myself up, but I think a man that can show emotion and be able to work through that emotion is more of a man than that just shuts themselves off from everyone. Yeah,
that's some good advice right there for sure. I was gonna last question. So, what advice do you have for someone that's looking to get into that home inspection industry? What's some advice you give to somebody?
So let me speak broad first. Yeah. If you have a desire to start a job, do it. Do it. Yeah. What is the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
I was thinking the other day, I was listening to a podcast by Billy Carson and Terrence Howard, and they're talking about just the depth of the universe. And I was thinking, any vocation that exists today was a offset of an industry 40 years ago. Yeah. So now, in your vocation now, what other ways can you specialize your industry? And if you could get people in those spots, then you have an unlimited money source because you're creating new jobs.
New jobs.
New jobs equals new wealth. You asked specifically about the home inspection industry. Yeah. You could go to www.trek, and there's a link right on the website to walk you through the licensing process. You know, you got to get your education, you got to pay the fees, you got to get a background check, E&O insurance, all that.
And you said that, I mean, you don't have to have a lot of experience, right? You said you came off from working at Chick-fil-A, then this was your next job?
Yes.
So, I mean, it's possible, right?
Right, right.
You're killing it. So.
Especially now with the state only requiring 10 supervised inspections. Yeah. Anyone could do it. I would recommend anyone, if you're getting to get the education, to get it through InterNACHI. I can't remember if it's .com or .org, but for $50 a month or $600 a year, you could have access to their education. They have over 133 courses.
Oh, wow.
And it's just part of the membership. Yeah. But with that membership, you could also put up job listings once you're licensed.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I built my business to be independent of realtors, mainly because here in Texas, there's not supposed to be pay for play.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But I also wanted to make sure I had an independent voice and couldn't be silenced if there was a person in the industry that wasn't happy with my inspections.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's some good advice. I mean there's definitely resources they can go to and figure that out for sure. Where can people find you if they want to schedule an inspection? Google, Facebook, what's your
So I
preferred?
am on all the major social media sites. Okay. But as far as getting a job scheduled, you could either call my number, which is 806-678-4766, okay, or I have a form on my website, www.abetterinspectiontx.com. TX.com. And those are probably the two best ways. The best thing about being my own boss is I set my own schedule. Yeah. And ever since I started, I've always been the last minute inspector. and the reason why I do that is, now that we're in the winter, I have 3 inspection slots a day, but during the summer I do 4 inspections a day. Yeah. Wow, that's a lot. That allows me to have next day availability if someone needs to get in a last minute inspection or something like that.
Awesome. So, that's awesome, man. Well, it was great talking to you, Michael. It seems like you have a good system going. You have a good head on your shoulders. You're a Christian man. Everything I see on social media, I mean, it looks like you're doing great, and I'm proud of you. I don't know. This is the first time I met you, right? But you're easy to talk to. When you came in, you're friendly, you know, so very respectful, and I appreciate that. And I just want to thank you for your time.
Hey, I appreciate it, Pedro.
Yep. All right, guys. So this is the end. It was good talking to Micheal Morton with the Better Inspection, and just remember, y'all can catch this episode on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And that's it. We'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all.
See you guys.